Chapter 1. The part of yourself you don't want to face is determining your life. You think you are chasing the light. You think you are healing, awakening, moving to a higher vibration. But have you ever thought that your repeated anxiety, the same feeling of hurt, and even the failed relationship may not be a cosmic test, but you, the part of yourself that you have never dared to face, is controlling you? We have all lied to ourselves like this. I'm not angry. I just calmly distance myself. I'm not jealous. I just respect other people's freedom. I don't have a desire to control. I just have a strong sense of responsibility. I don't please. I'm just very empathetic. But the soul will not lie to you. Your heart knows that you are suppressing, avoiding, and hiding the person you deliberately don't mention, the mode of self-blame and sacrifice in your relationship, the person you silently envy and hate, but pretend to be detached, the moment when you clearly want to express your anger, but say, I understand, I forgive. These are all your shadows of the soul. It is not the karma imposed on you by others, but the real darkness that you cover up with the beautiful shells of love, light, and awakening. You are not spiritual enough. You just use awakening as an excuse to escape the truth. You are constantly pursuing higher frequencies, but you have never really looked back and asked yourself a question. Is the me hidden deep in my heart, full of anger, shame, control, and resentment, doing well now? The light you strive for will actually appear when you are willing to embrace that darkness. Chapter 2. The self you rejected is quietly watching you. Please close your eyes and imagine a picture. You are standing in front of the mirror. You are well dressed and smiling, just like you appear in front of others every day. But just when you want to walk away, you in the mirror did not move. He is still standing there. His smile disappears. His eyes are empty, and you suddenly realize that you are looking at the self you have hidden. Maybe he has a gloomy face and hateful eyes. Maybe he stands in the dark, covered with wounds. But, always looking at you silently, you know who he is. He is the you who cried when you were scolded as a child but couldn't cry. The you who was ignored in the relationship again and again but still begged for love. The you who can only wipe your tears and tell yourself it's okay after being humiliated, denied, and misunderstood. You have never really looked at him, but he is always there. This is the shadow. You exiled him, but never really lost him. You wrap yourself up well with rationality, spirituality, and positive energy. But you know that the self you don't want to admit is hiding behind all your repeated patterns, quietly dominating your life. He makes you distrust intimacy, makes you constantly blame yourself or blame in every relationship, and makes you feel inexplicable shame and emptiness even in the brightest moments. You think you have control over your emotions, but in fact you just suppress that part of you, the self that is too painful, so you decide not to mention it. But you can't deceive your soul. The voice in the deepest part of your heart is still whispering, I don't need you to forgive me. I just want you to see me. You are afraid of him. You are afraid that you will collapse after seeing him. You are afraid that you are not the person you imagine who has practiced for a long time. But dear, the real practice is never to become a perfect person of light, but to admit I also have darkness, and that darkness is me. Chapter 3. Your shadow never comes out of thin air. It comes from the way you once had to live. Each of us has lived more than one life. Instead, we have lived countless concessions. When you were a child, you might have loved to cry, make trouble, and be very sensitive, but you found that you were not liked, understood, or even beaten. So you learned to smile, be silent, be polite, and put your true self in a corner of your heart that no one could find. You think you are growing up, but in fact you are living the way others want you to be and killing the real you. Family. The first place that teaches you to deny yourself a home that never allows you to lose your temper will create an adult who over-understands others but does not understand himself. A family that keeps telling you that other people's children are the standard will plant the seeds of shame of "I am not good enough" and grow into you who will always please and never dare to say no in the future. The shadow is not your fault. It is the sacrifice you made to be loved, accepted, and survive. But today you have grown up. The child who had to hide the truth to survive is still dominating all your reactions as an adult. Social culture, enthusiasm for light, repression of darkness. We live in a society where only sunshine is allowed, not cloudy days. This is especially true in the spiritual circle. You will hear, "Keep the high frequency. Don't think about negative things." You attract negative energy because you have a low frequency. You must love everyone and forgive everything. These seemingly positive words will only make people more ashamed to admit that they are still in pain. You are not loving enough, nor are you not spiritual enough. You are just forced to suppress anger, sadness, jealousy, and fear. But you are taught that these emotions are not spiritual, so you press them all into the shadow. You become loving, but also numb. The shadow is not your mistake, but the process of losing yourself. Every time you tell yourself it's okay, you are actually saying shut up to your inner self. Every time you forgive, you are actually ignoring a self that is collapsing. These unexpressed emotions and unheard cries have sunk into the deep well of your subconscious, becoming a place that you cannot see, but is leaking energy. Jung said, "You become a shadow because it has never been seen. And the reason you are in pain is that you have been trying to make it invisible to others. You are not unawakened. You are just trying too hard to be a bright person to forget. The real integration is to take you back from the darkness." Chapter 4. You think you have controlled your emotions, but you have actually been controlled by them. Have you ever had this experience? You told yourself that you had already let go of that relationship, but when you saw a certain name late at night, your chest suddenly tightened, your eyes became sore, and you wanted to throw your phone away. You said that you understood unconditional love, but as long as the other party did not reply to your message, did not recognize you, and ignored you, you began to have wild thoughts, become sensitive, and retreat. Finally, you gritted your teeth and told yourself, "I am too sensitive. I want to practice." You thought you had controlled your emotions, but in fact, you just pressed it into the ground and turned it into a subconscious command that runs automatically. There is a word in psychology called reactive mode. It means you think you are choosing, but in fact you are just automatically reacting to past trauma. That is not you loving, communicating, or making decisions. It is the defense made by the child inside you in pain. You think you are rational, but every time you retreat, explode, disappear, and please, it comes from a self that you have never accompanied well. Your shadow can't speak, but it will be repeated through your interpersonal patterns. You are afraid of being rejected, so you never take the initiative. You are afraid of being left behind, so you cling to others, but verbally say, "I am very independent." You are afraid of being seen, so you always smile, always say it's okay, always say you can understand everything. The shadow is like an invisible hand. It is not by your side, but it writes the ending of every relationship you have. You may even find that the people who hurt you, you keep attracting. In fact, each one is your unaccepted self. You attract the person who controls you because you refuse to face your inner control desire. You attract the person who ignores you because you have been ignoring yourself. You attract the person who criticizes you because you already have a harsh self-flagellate in your heart. Your world is actually a mirror. You think you are avoiding the shadow, but in fact, you are dancing with it. You don't need to fix these emotions of yours. You just need to start being willing to be aware of what it is saying. Chapter 5. Allowing the shadow to emerge is a gentle revolution. You once thought that allowing yourself to break down emotionally was a step backward. You thought that admitting your anger, jealousy, and fear was unspiritual, but you are wrong. The real strength is not how much sadness you can suppress, but whether you can gently accompany the self who is about to break in pain. The shadow is not the toxin you want to remove. It is a letter you have never dared to open. It says in it, your truest desire, your past fear, your denied nature, and your true strength. You can't defeat it, suppress it, or transform it. You can only sit down and listen to it. Now please close your eyes. I want to ask you to do one thing. Imagine that you go back to a deep memory of your childhood. Maybe you are crying in a corner and no one sees you. Maybe you are scolded for losing your temper, saying, "Why are you so ignorant?" Maybe you are trying hard to perform, but you only get one sentence in return. Don't be so exaggerated. Now please imagine that you are your current self and approach that little you. You don't need to say too much. You just need to sit down and accompany him. Then tell him gently, "I'm here. I won't force you to be someone anymore. You can cry, you can be angry, you are complete even if you have these emotions. Acceptance is not to like your shadow, but to allow it to exist and no longer reject it. You don't need to turn it off, clean it, eliminate it, or pull it out. You just need to sit next to it, because the repressed part only wants to be seen by you. Once you stop resisting, it will no longer be persistent. It doesn't need to rule your life. It just wants to be by your side, like a child crying occasionally and then laughing. This is the miracle of shadow work. It's not that you heal someone, but that you finally take yourself home. Chapter 6. When you live with the shadow, you are truly free. Integration does not make you better. It makes you no longer divided. You used to live very hard, suppressing anger while pretending to be compassionate, restraining desires while verbally saying, "I let it go," pursuing spiritual growth while avoiding your truest emotional fluctuations. You think this is awakening, but in fact it is just that you have learned to control yourself more delicately. But what is true freedom? It is that you can finally feel anger, but no longer feel ashamed. When you want to express fear, you no longer say, "I'm fine." When you are hit by jealousy, you no longer pretend to be compassionate. You begin to allow all of you to live in the same body together, no longer reject any version, no longer judge any emotion. You finally become a complete person, a person with light and shadow, love and hate, can laugh and dare to cry. The ancient mystical doctrine has long predicted. The most important step in alchemy is not to turn gold, but to combine with shadow, matter, to form the philosopher's stone. Jung also said, awakening is not about becoming bright, but about bringing darkness into consciousness. Your true power is not how pure you become, but that you can finally stand in the center of your own darkness and walk into the light with it. You will find that after integration, you no longer attract repeated harm because you no longer project hatred. You no longer please because you know that you are worthy of love. You no longer avoid relationships because you are no longer afraid of being seen as you really are. The most amazing thing is, your frequency begins to rise, not because you become high frequency, but because you are no longer broken. All the repressed emotions have caused your energy body to leak energy everywhere. And when you accept them, you can truly reclaim the complete vibration. Light is not about defeating darkness. It is that darkness can finally live in light with peace of mind. This is integration. This is freedom. Chapter 7. Start walking with your shadow. not conquering but symbiosis. The shadow is not a war you want to win. It is a traveler who has been wandering for many years and always wants to go home. And you finally open the door in your heart and tell it, I will not lock you in the basement anymore. You can live with me. This is the beginning of symbiosis. Example: what should you do when old wounds are triggered in a relationship? He didn't reply to your message again. You start to get irritated, and when your emotions come up, many voices appear in your mind. Does he not care about me? I knew he would leave sooner or later. Did I do something wrong again? You really want to question him immediately, or just go into a cold war. But you paused and closed your eyes. You ask yourself, is my current emotion caused by the other person, or is my inner old wound being touched? You find that this is not the first time. You were always ignored when you were a child. You are afraid of being forgotten. You always feel that you are not important. So now, when anyone is silent to you, the child in your heart will immediately jump out and say, you see, I'm not worthy of being loved. You take a deep breath, not to endure, but to see. You walk to the mirror and say to yourself, I know you are very scared. But this time, let's not use explosion or indifference to protect ourselves. Let's use listening. So you no longer question or pretend to be cool. You write a sentence like this and send it. You didn't reply to the message just now, and my emotions were a little triggered. It's not your fault, but some of my inner anxiety jumped out. I am practicing not to escape. You have never responded like this. You no longer suppress or explode, but respond to the shadow and love with awareness. At that moment, you are not more good or more high frequency. You are more real and more integrated you. 3 daily exercises for walking with the shadow. Every time you get emotional, ask yourself a question. Is this feeling something that is happening now, or is it the reappearance of an old injury? 2. Write a diary in front of the mirror and talk to yourself in the second person. For example, I know you doubt yourself again today. It's okay. We can go slowly. No need to pretend. Sue. Write your emotions into your body instead of suppressing them in your mind. Sit down. Put your hands on your heart or stomach. Take a deep breath for 30 seconds and ask your body, how do I feel now? Let it move, flow, even cry, shake. Don't judge, just feel. Symbiosis is not that you become a completely bright person, but that you're willing to sit down and hold its hand when every darkness comes and walk through it together. Chapter 8. Embracing darkness is the last piece of the puzzle for you to become a complete soul. If you have ever tried to pursue light and thought that awakening means transcending emotions, getting rid of pain, only love and peace, then, now please listen to what your soul really wants to say to you. I don't need you to be perfect. I just hope you are complete. This universe has never been composed of only light. The birth of the universe began with darkness, chaos, abyss, unnamed energy. All spiritual evolution is not to escape from darkness, but to go through it, understand it, and reconcile with. And you're no longer the person who is black and white and fights against your own emotions. You know that the shadow is not an enemy, but your growth mentor, awakening partner, and soul puzzle. It is like a star at night. You can only see its light when it is dark enough. You have been hiding from it, but it has been waiting for you. You have suppressed it, but it has never hated you. You think it is an obstacle, but in fact, it is the last door to your completeness and freedom. The moment you cross it, it is not that you become more spiritual, but that you finally become a real, complete, and genuine soul. The evolution of the soul never requires you to deny yourself. In the Kabbalah tree of life, the bottom layer is Malkut, which represents matter, pain, and chaos. That is, the reality experience we most often deny. And the real psychic does not escape from Markut, but rises from it and walks towards divinity with darkness. As it is said in the Bhagavad Gita, the one who sees darkness as light is the real awakener, not leaving, but returning, not purifying yourself, but taking back yourself. You come to this world not to become a pure light existence, but to become a container that can carry light and shadow. Every step you take is leading you back to the complete you.